From WBBZ-TV Sports, it's time to beat the champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to Beat the Champ from one of our favorite venues in Western New York. We're at Transit Lanes in Williamsville with Sue Novoitsky, Hall of Fame bowler, and Janelle Sabin. My name is Paul Peck. You guys did such a good job filling in for me last month. I'm surprised they wanted me back.
Oh, no, we're so happy to have you back. I just want you to know, first and foremost, I so respect what you do out here, because it is not that easy.
You guys did a great job. And what I missed was an incredible run by Pete Maduri on a 7-match winning streak that he's looking to keep alive today.
I know. I was thinking about you the whole time, thinking every time he wins, Paul would be saying, here goes the winning streak, here goes the winning streak, but he put on such a show. And he was fun to watch, he was super entertaining, and I expect more of the same.
Yeah, so he'll try to keep that winning streak alive. It's an interesting group of bowlers that will challenge him here at Transit Lanes, starting with today, guys who haven't been on the show very much, but guys that are well respected in town, including Rob Piccoli and Bill Truman and Aaron Magliazzo. They haven't gotten a lot of experience on this show, but they're good.
Well, you're talking about two people that bowl quite a bit in this house with Rob Piccoli and Bill Truman. I mean, Bill Truman's the manager here. He practices here a lot. He knows exactly what's coming up, how the lanes change and all of that. So is Rob. He's a league bowler here. Very comfortable. And then I like the story of the new guy, of Aaron, because he's never been on the show before, never tried out before. So it's working. You know, we're getting more people to come and try out.
All right, Janelle, so it's your job to monitor the home lane advantage for some of these guys.
So, I mean, we got some new faces, some old faces, so there's no telling what we're going to see today.
Well, then that's a good enough reason to stick around. We've got one bowler on a roll, so let's get rolling.
I'm here on Beat the Champ with our returning champion, Pete Maduri. Put on a great show for us last month. Tell us a little bit about the challenges of changing houses while you're the champion.
Yeah, I actually like the old wood a lot with my ball speed. Going to have to make some adjustments today. I do struggle at this house here and there. I know the scores are usually very high, so I'm going to have to adapt quick, and hopefully we can make things work.
So did you have to dull up all your stuff?
Yeah, if you type it in on Facebook, hashtag Sunday Surprise, there's me with these new pads, and I've had to use a little more surface than usual. My wrist has been giving me some problems, so we've been having to compensate with some surface. So. Okay,
so there you have it, hashtag Sunday Surprise. I'm here on Beat the Champ with Rob Piccoli, a face we haven't seen in a year and a half. And I know you're a league bowler here because I've served you before and I know what you like. Long Island tees, right?
That's right, absolutely.
A little too early for that though, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. It's 10 o'clock.
So tell me about bowling here. Is it kind of because you bowl league here and you're comfortable?
Yeah, absolutely. The place is familiar. It's a nice line that I like to play. Everybody usually plays left of me, so I got my own little niche to play.
And it worked the same for you as league play?
Correct, yep, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, well then I guess you're going to have a little home field advantage here, so good luck to you.
Absolutely.
So it's match number one with our returning champion, Pete Maduri, to be challenged by Rob the Rocket Piccoli. Always good when we get a bowler with a good nickname, and we'll talk a little more about Rob in a moment. But what more is there to be said about Pete Maduri on a 7-match winning streak? Overall record here on Beat the Champ of 9-2, and he was dominant. We've seen a lot of other bowlers that have had streaks like this. Kevin Bianco, Dana Vojtovich, Jeremy Zimmerman are the only 3 longer streaks, but he was dominant at Kearns Avenue last month.
He was, and you know, this is a big challenge for him, even though he's a great bowler, because this couldn't be a more polarly opposite condition. This is a lot more oil, synthetic lane condition, big bowling center with different sounds, different noises, different reverberations off the ceiling. You know, it's just totally different from what he came from.
So what's the adjustment for him then? You know, when you say all that, you're initially you want to say, oh boy, can he be as good here as he was at Kearns Avenue? So how does he have to adjust? Even though he's bowling great, how does he have to adjust to all those things that are different?
Well, one of the great things is that he's a big tournament bowler, so you know he sees a lot of different conditions and a lot of different, atmospheres. But first of all, it's going to be equipment. To answer your question, it's going to be equipment. He's going to use a completely different bowling ball than he would even think about using at Kearns. And you know, muscle memory is a thing with your swing, and he had to open it up over there. This would be a lot straighter. But I would say the biggest thing is going to be, equipment.
Right. We'll talk a little more about that because I think that's an interesting topic, particularly as you said, as it relates to Pete's experience in bowling tournaments. But here's our first look at Rob Piccoli from Kenmore, produce manager for Tops Market, full-time occupation for Rob, 32 years old, and a guy who bowls a lot here at Transit Lane. So right off the bat, you know, the setup is that now you've got a guy who knows this place, who's comfortable here, who bowls very well here. And hey, let's be honest, through an 803 series in qualifying, that means he's bowling pretty well.
Right, and exactly, it kind of negates the champ aspect because you're actually, as the champ, you're actually coming in bowling against someone who is absolutely totally comfortable in this house.
10-pin will hang up there on the first throw for Rob Piccoli.
And it's one of the things that Rob and I talked about is because of his experience in bowling league here and the changes that the lanes go through as a normal night of bowling would progress, he was very comfortable knowing where to move, what ball to throw, and we bring up equipment again where Rob's going to throw a bowling ball that he uses here all the time. He doesn't have to fish through his bag and find something that's going to roll good. He already knows what that ball is.
And now we shift it back to Pete Maduri, 30 years old, from Tonawanda, national corporate trainer for Dynabraid is the occupation for Pete Maduri. We've also talked in the past appearances for Pete on the show that one of the reasons we don't see him a lot in the summertime is he is an outstanding drag racer, not only locally but around, you know, beyond Western New York as well too. So a lot of his time is focused on auto racing during the summer, and then, you know, when it gets a little too cold to burn the tires out, he comes over here and burns up the lanes.
Right. Well, let's talk a little bit about burning up. As a matter of fact, his ball speed. He has very, very high ball speed, which on a condition like this where you've got a lot of head oil, the ball's going to spray, which is why we've seen him come light so far, because he's going to have to soften that speed up a little bit and allow the ball to roll.
You know, it's interesting that, you know, the fact that Pete was red hot on a 7-match winning streak. You could argue he might not be the favorite in this match for the reasons that you've already laid out. He did that at a different house, under different conditions, against a guy who bowls here more, who had an incredible qualifying run to get here. So as strange as it might sound, you know, you would think Pete's going to win this because he's red hot, but that's not the case.
You know, and a couple weeks have passed too, so, you know, he's bowled a couple tournaments in between, and he's made some cuts, but he hasn't necessarily won or been a high qualifier, and that all plays on you. You know, this is a game of physical and so mental. There you go.
Nice. There's a good strike. The first of the match for Pete Maduri. This is his 7th appearance on the show for Pete.
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
This could be a critical point in this match as you get the update on the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard.
Well, we talk about the importance of spares, but when you're on a condition that has as many strike capabilities as this one does, it is magnified when you miss a shot because there's just so many strikes. It's almost impossible to catch up after that.
And that's a good response by Pete with a strike in the 7th. Mentioned Rob Piccoli was our #1 qualifier with the 803 series. He was not the #1 qualifier in the round of 24. And the guy who did that, William Gerhardt, was the winner of our Dirt Cheap TV valued at $500. We'll see William on next week's show, but anytime you come out and try to qualify, and we had nearly a record number of qualifiers this month here at Transit Lanes, you keep yourself eligible to win that Dirt Cheap TV. We give it away every month. Nice smooth stroke for Rob Piccoli, and yet another strike.
Yeah, Rob's got that right lane figured out. He seemed to use the ball with a little more shine to it to keep from going high on lane 12 out there in the dry where he is. So he's got it figured out.
So lane 12, one guy's got it figured out, one guy doesn't. Will that be enough to determine the match?
There's still a it's still up there. Pete can still come back, but it's going to require Rob not doubling anymore. So Rob's going to want to put some strikes up on the board and shut that out.
And had a lot of pin movement, but just not enough to take the 7 out.
That is a bad mix because those shots are normally good carries. You know, when you hit a little light and the pins spin all over the place, those tend to carry very well here.
You can just see as we stare down the lanes how shiny they are. The lights coming off of it. The place looks great. Transit Lanes always looks great. They do a nice job in keeping this place looking fantastic, and again, a little different than what we saw last month at Kearns Avenue. Not that Dan doesn't keep that place looking great, but it's a different style.
You're talking about wood versus plastic.
Right.
I mean, a synthetic lane is plastic, so the reflection is coming off the lights, and it will appear to be different. I mean, wood is what it is. It has, its flaws, and it's dense, and it's.
So this is a critical point in the match here as we hit the 8th frame for Pete Maduri.
Well, he's got to get up on a lane that he's really confused on, and he has to strike.
And once again, that same issue of the pins on the left side, that's at least the 3rd time there's been multiple pins left to the left of the headband.
Well, I guarantee you he's trying something different, but the result remains the same. So when we talk to him, it'll be interesting to hear his perspective of what really occurred, because we're not there. We're only trying to guess what's going on.
Right.
But my guess is definitely the strip of oil is very heavy, and it's keeping the ball from hooking to the pocket.
Now, I was noticing as I was going back and watching the shows from last month, of which you did an amazing job. No. And there's a nice strike for Pete. But Pete started off great, and he was in the 250s, 230s, 220s. And in his last 2 matches, under 200. He won at 185, 176. It doesn't really mean anything related to here. That was a couple of weeks ago at a different place. But you saw him lose a little bit of steam, lose a little bit of momentum, maybe not score as well as he did. Is there any carryover to his game whatsoever?
No, it's all relative. I mean, that place, because of the nature of it being an older wood condition, the way it breaks down, you get pushed in so deep.
Good big strike. That 7-pin hung up a little bit and then did a slow motion fall, and the 9th frame, and that is going to be the frame that gets Rob Piccoli the victory here.
Yeah, he just needs a good showing here in lane 11.
Yeah.
But back to what we were talking about, when you get pushed in really, really deep, you lose your carry. It's really hard to get that same pin action when you get pushed in that deep. So the scores are kind of relative to, I think, where Pete was playing on the lane.
Right. So really what's happened here in our first match of our first week at Transit Lanes is the red-hot bowler could not overcome the change of houses and facing an equally red-hot bowler who is much more comfortable here at Transit Lanes. I think that's a little bit of the summation here of Rob Piccoli's win over Pete Maduri.
Well, the trick will be for the day is conquering lane 12.
Right. But Rob looked like he didn't have any trouble with it.
He did.
He did.
Right.
He did too?
No.
He didn't.
He did look like he didn't have any trouble with it, but.
So if he is the one that doesn't have any trouble with it, that's going to bode very well if other bowlers are struggling on lane 12. And again, Rob Piccoli's a guy who has bowled very well here, and he's going to get himself a win. He'll move on to match number 2. We'll talk to Pete Maduri and wrap this one up and get you ready for match number 2 when we return to Transit Lanes right after this. 238 to 173 is our final score as Rob Piccoli beats Pete Maduri to end Pete's 7-match winning streak. I hope it wasn't me, right? The only thing that was different other than the location was me, right?
Yeah, you might be bad luck, but I wasn't going to say anything, yeah. But yeah, he bowled a great game, and I just couldn't get a good look. Thought I made some good shots, but just didn't match up right. So
Lane 12 seemed to really bug you.
Just couldn't get far enough right, and then in the 10th frame I did, and it untied my shoelace. It hooked so early, so we'll see what happens next time in Fredonia.
Is that another little bowling phrase that you just taught me?
I have a lot of good ones.
All right, that is a good one. So, all right, normally Bill Truman would do this. He's a little occupied getting ready for next match, so I'll take care of the duties here for you. Can't wait to catch you back a little bit, and good luck on the racing season as well, too.
Thank you. Yeah, looking forward to it, especially after today.
Yeah, all right. Pete Maduri gave us a lot of fun last month at Kearns Avenue. We'll get him back as well, too. But it's time for match number 2. Our winner, Rob Piccoli, against the Transit Lanes manager, Bill Truman. Stick around. We're coming up next.
I'm here on Beat the Champ with manager Bill Truman, but he's not here as manager, he's here as bowler. Set the lanes up a little bit for yourself, or no?
Absolutely. Bowling against Pete Maduri or Rob, either one, they both bowled great. So.
You know I know better because I've bowled you on television. I know how tough you are and what a competitor you are.
Well, I try. I give it the best I can. Nobody ever likes to lose. If we happen to carry, I'm looking forward to the day.
All right, well, I told Rob Piccoli he had a little home field advantage, but I don't think it's nothing on you.
No, I don't think so. I've bowled a couple games here.
Okay, well, good luck today, Bill.
Thank you very much. Thanks, sir.
Match number 2, it's the real battle of Transit Lanes. Two guys that spend a lot of time with a lot of success here, Rob Piccoli and our challenger, Bill Truman. And as I mentioned, Sue, he's the manager here, so he thus does spend a lot of time here, but he spends a lot of time managing and a lot of time bowling as well, too.
Right, and Bill's a good practicer. He's someone that, even though he does spend a lot of time at the bowling center, still takes time out to throw a few bowling balls here and there.
So this is his official debut on Beat the Champ for Bill Truman. We have seen him on the show once before as one of our Transit Lanes sort of challenge amongst the league bowlers here for one of our exhibition shows about a year or so ago. So, and I know Bill has sat here and been a guest with us as well too, because he's an incredibly interesting guy that we'll talk about a little bit coming up. But it's his first chance to be officially on the show, Beat the Champ, and he did that thanks to an amazing $7.99 series in qualifying.
Right, which we know what a high score that is. And one thing about this bowling center, and I think you'd say with any bowling center, but especially one this large, it can be very different from pair to pair. Like, Bill bowls league here, but he bowls league on the high end, and the high end does play different than the low end. This is characteristically where the open bowling is, so it gets more play, and this section of the house is older than the other section of the house, so being adept at one side of the house doesn't make them play the same on the other side.
Right, and as we've learned through the course of the show here, things like when one part was built versus another part can make them play dramatically different. We've talked about, the age of the wood, what was the surface underneath, the humidity, the air temperature, the lighting, all of those things. And you've taught a lot of that to me. A lot of that figures in. So that was an asterisk for me when you talk about, well, this end sees much different type of bowling than the other end, and they weren't all built at the same time.
Right, and you'll find typically through any bowling center, and if for any of the viewers who go to have their own bowling centers they go to, if you look at the lanes in front of the control counter, those are going to be the most worn lanes, because typically open bowling is going to be where the person can see them, where the workers can see them.
Right.
We're not going to just throw them on the other side of the house and let them wreak havoc. You tend to start open bowling right in front of the control counters. Those get the most use.
All right, so my follow-up question is, we watch Rob Piccoli, who has left single pins in the first 2 frames here. Is it strictly just they get used more, or is the different kind of bowling from open bowlers versus lanes that mostly get used for league bowling, is there a residual effect to that?
No, it's just wear and tear.
Just more wear and tear.
Yeah, wear and tear. I mean, the oil is put down to, bowling centers will have like their own typical shot that's kind of worn into the surface, and open bowling doesn't really affect that because primarily, houses see just so much league bowling. But no, it's just wear and tear. The front of the lanes get a lot of beating because that's where the ball hits the hardest, the constant beat into the lanes.
You saw the vital stats on Bill Truman from right here in Williamsville, and Bill is again a long-time notable figure in the bowling world here in Western New York, and a long-time notable figure in the hockey world in Western New York, because if you're looking at him and you're going, how do I know this guy? He looks familiar to me. He is the man who handles the penalty boxes at the KeyBank Center, and he has done it forever. He's the guy that opens the door, and I joked with somebody before that tells me that he spent more time with Rob Ray than he has with his wife over the last 20 years.
Oh, that's funny. He's actually graduated to be promoted to being in charge of all of the off-ice officials. So he makes the schedules. I mean, he's the big cheese over there.
He is the big cheese, yes.
And I was at the game the other day, and he's part of, I heard his name announced over the intercom before the start of the game.
How about that, huh? Yep. So that's why if you're looking at Bill and you're like, how do I know that guy? That if you go to Sabres games, you'll know the name, you'll know the face. Nice strike for Bill in the third frame there. Our first strike of this match between Bill and Rob the Rocket Piccoli. And don't forget, along with keeping up on bowling here by watching Beat the Champ, I invite you to join myself and Kevin Sylvester every Saturday morning on WECK Radio here in Western New York, 12:30 a.m., 102.9 FM. It's Buffalo Sports Page Radio on Saturday mornings from 10 to 12. We'll touch on everything in the world of sports, the latest with the Bills and the Sabres and college sports. Great college basketball time of year for everybody. So your phone call's always welcome, but we have a lot of fun with the show. We haven't had you on yet, but we're going to have
I know
you on.
when I listen to you.
Your significant other on to talk about the Buttes and hockey. So we welcome you to join in and listen Saturday mornings from 10 to 12 on WECK.
I know when I listen to you, I feel like I'm sitting right next to you anyways, because I'm just so used to, your voice and your delivery.
We have a lot of fun with the show, and it's not just Bills and Sabres. We try to talk about a lot of things like bowling and racing and like we said, college sports, and we touch on a lot of stuff because I know Western New Yorkers care about a lot of different sports. So.
And you brought up the Buttes, and
They've had
a great run, and the playoffs will be at Harbor Center this year because they've secured the second position, so they'll have home ice for the playoffs. So I'm sure they'll talk about that on your show when you have Craig on.
Yep, and for those that don't know, Craig Muni, the former Sabre and multiple Stanley Cup winner from the Edmonton Oilers, Sue's significant other, is the assistant coach with Rick Sealing, the former Sabre of the women's professional hockey team in town, the Buffalo Buttes.
Right.
I don't know that Bill Truman would have much to do in the penalty boxes of those games. They play a pretty up and down, clean game, don't they?
Great double there for Bill.
Speaking of clean, that's right. That's 2 in a row for Bill Truman, and he's starting to find the groove that nobody knows where that groove is here better than Bill does.
We're going to be back with more Beat the Champ bowling action in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
So the similarity here between these two guys, they're going to manipulate with bowling balls because Bill's ball speed is a little slower than Rob's. They're going to be going a little bit right to left, but what's happening as the day goes on, as you can see that these guys are going light. That was another light hit right there because it looked like it hit the pocket, but it hit the pocket.
It couldn't look like it hit the pocket any better.
But it had very little revolutions when it hit because it just was sort of skating through the oil. So it hit the pocket, but it wasn't rotating into the pocket. It was more sliding into the pocket. So you're going to get these light pocket splits, and that's because as that gets drier, where he could play, it's going to become even difficult for anybody to play out there. And then now they're hitting that oil strip that he was able to get around the last game. So it's going to play out to be a challenge here of breaking down that wall of oil that's right around the 10 board, the second arrow.
We saw the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard that reflects an open frame in the 6th for Rob Piccoli, and it'll now show a strike in the 6th for Bill Truman. So, that was two balls in a row where Rob sort of almost left that same little small split. He had good pin action to prevent it in the 5th, but couldn't overcome it in the 6th.
And that's because this ball is sliding as opposed to rolling.
So now Bill moves over to frame number 11, looking for a double. Got it.
So we talked a little bit about Bill having a little slower ball speed, which is not a bad thing when you're talking about a lot of oil. It's actually a good thing. It's giving his ball time to work and not slide, and that's where he's getting the good carry.
So now Rob Piccoli, 32 years old from Kenmore, facing a little bit of a challenge to have to overcome that open frame that he had in the 6th as we move to frame number 7 here for Rob. I want to remind you again that Rob was the top qualifier here at Transit Lanes, but he was not the top bowler in the round to get to the round of 24. That belonged to William Gerhardt, who we'll see next month, and it was William that took home the Dirt Cheap TV valued at $500. That goes to the top qualifier each month in the round of 24. We're moving on to Fredonia's Lucky Lanes for next month, and you'll have your next chance to bring home the television from Dirt Cheap TV.
There's a lot of qualifiers going on at Lucky Lanes. You have to check the Facebook page for that, but there's a lot of squads.
So Rob grabs the spare in frame number 7. He needed that coming off the open, and he was even playing with a little bit of the edge there on that single pin spare. So, and there's Janelle Sabin, and there's your updated Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard from here at Transit Lanes on Transit Road in Williamsville. One of our favorite places to bring the show to. We always get great crowds, good turnout, terrific turnout here. As we tape this, it's a holiday week, so a lot of the kids are off of school, so we've got a lot of the kids here as well, too, which is great. And that was a little bit off the pocket hit, but it didn't matter. He had enough power to knock them all down.
No, that was actually a good job adjusting on that lane. He's trying to move a little bit back right and throw it a little harder and get back to that spot where he had the good pin action the first game, which is, getting to be a touchy spot. Big shot for Bill here, though, because he's got a 30-pin lead going in the second half of this match, and he keeps striking. Oh, beautiful.
3 in a row. 3 in a row. He bowls here regularly in the Monday Doubles League and has a 216 average, and then he bowls Wednesday in the Seniors League where he has a 218 average. And he's won a number of Buffalo City tournament doubles titles over his career. Numerous 300s, numerous 800 series. Just missed another 800 series with the 799 he bowled in qualifying. And again, slow motion drop on the 7-pin gets Bill Truman his 4th consecutive strike. And that'll do it.
That's going to do it for Bill. And I want to mention that you see how age is not really a barrier in this sport. I mean, even though Bill's been around a while, it's almost to an advantage that he knows how to adjust. He knows his game, and you don't have to throw it super hard. You need a ball that's working. You need to be lined up properly.
So we kind of figured when we looked at the lineup coming in here to Transit Lanes with Pete Maduri on the winning streak, but then a lot of bowlers who are good here at Transit but hadn't really been on the show, that we might get a lot of win-loss stuff. Well, that's where we are right now. Rob Piccoli ends Pete Maduri's streak, but then Bill Truman comes back and beats him. We'll talk to Rob and get you ready for match number 3. Who knows what'll happen there? We're back at Transit Lanes right after this. Bill Truman ends with 7 consecutive strikes to win 255 to 168. We kind of knew one of you guys with the home lane advantage was going to have the edge. How was it that Bill was able to have a little more than you, Rob?
He bowled great, definitely. Yeah, he's an excellent bowler, and I always see him bowl. So
the conditions changed on you pretty dramatically from even the first match, didn't they?
Absolutely, instantly. So the oil pushed down a little bit, so I tried to switch to a more aggressive ball. Maybe I should have got a little slower, so the ball can hook in a little more. But
all right, well, you did a nice job. You ended Pete's winning streak as well, too. Donna, I know there's a pretty good chance he's going to spend that here because he hangs out here an awful lot anyway.
First of all, congratulations, and thank you for bowling with us. And we're Transit Lanes is a proud supporter of Beat the Champ, but I'm very excited to see Bill Truman, who is a part of my management team at Transit Lanes, take this on. It's great.
Right.
We're very proud.
Rob, you battled him pretty good, but Bill Truman's going to try to keep this thing alive. It's match number 3 coming up next.
I'm here on Beat the Champ with Aaron Magliazzo, a new face. And, you know, we talk about it from week to week, how people should come out and bowl, and, you know, we hype it up a little bit. What made you come out to bowl?
My dad, actually. He is like, oh, it used to be a TV show back in my heyday, so he's like, why don't you go out and bowl? I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Okay, so he watches the show and saw it and told you to come bowl?
Yeah, he said they're starting to do it again, and you should try to take your skills out there and see what you can do.
And so first time you qualified, and first time you...
First time bowling, first time qualifier, yeah.
So beginner's luck, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
All right, go well.
So Bill Truman will go for 2 in a row in match number 3 here. His opponent, Aaron Magliazzo from Niagara Falls. We'll fill you in on the details on Aaron in a moment. But how about Bill ending with 7 consecutive strikes to win the last match over Rob Piccoli?
Yeah, Bill's tough. He's a seasoned veteran, and he figured it out, and he didn't let up, even after he won.
First roll of this one keeps the streak alive for Bill Truman with a strike in frame number 1. We're happy to welcome in Pete Maduri. Not where you would prefer to be, Pete, I get that, but we're glad to have you here for this match to give us a little bit of an insight. Coming off the 7 consecutive wins at Kearns Avenue, obviously Pete upset here by Rob in the first match. Sue and I talked an awful lot, and you and I talked about it briefly, how much the lanes sort of kind of changed on you even as the match went on.
Yeah, I just, you know, came from the practice pair. I thought I had a pretty good look, and then everything just went a little longer. Just couldn't get adjusted quick enough. And Rob bowled a great game, so hats off to him. But should have been able to get adjusted quicker. I don't think it was the lanes, just some bad shots, and definitely didn't read the lanes right. So.
Right. Aaron Magliazzo with a strike on his first frame. Aaron is 29 years old from Niagara Falls, full-time occupation as an operating engineer, and he's a guy that bowls regularly at a couple of different places around Western New York with a nice 230 average. This is his debut here on Beat the Champ, and it's literally the first time he even tried to make the show, right, Sue?
Yeah.
So Aaron's going to be a guy that's going to be fun to watch here. He is bowling very well. Although I think he would probably prefer that one back,
well,
wouldn't he?
You know, and he's left-handed, which is a different challenge because we saw how the right side of the lane plays, but we've got to see how the left side of the lane plays. And I'm saying from back here, it looked to me like some over-under, and it almost looks the same what happened there.
Yeah,
and
he's got a real strong ball roll, so I think you know, the left side being fresh, he's going to have to probably close his angles, keep everything maybe a little tighter. I think he'll be able to do that. He's pretty experienced, good bowler, so we'll see. But usually when that ball gets to the pocket, it carries 10. So.
Well, you used a word right now that we use a lot in bowling and tournament play, and that is fresh. But I don't think that anybody really knows what that means. Explain that just a little bit.
Yeah, so basically this was a fresh pair, 11 and 12, before we started bowling here on this show. We've had now 3 righties plus practice, so 3 guys on the right side all burning it up. Aaron's the first guy on the left. Especially with all the righties being further right, you know, we've had no interference with him at all. So totally a fresh pattern for Aaron.
So what do you see as, some people prefer fresh, some people prefer the lanes that have already been bowled on in tournament play. Where do you stand on that?
So for me, I'm actually usually prefer the carry down just because the oil pushes down and then it kind of tames the reaction down. I'm a little faster, a little more axis tilt. A lot of the guys that are more up the back of it prefer the fresh. They can actually tame the reaction down just by their ball roll. I can't do that quite as well.
Well, historically speaking, I think fresh lanes change faster too. I mean,
absolutely, yeah.
Right, because once you come back and lanes have been bowled on already, the changes have mostly occurred, and now they start to be normal changes where.
Right. Yeah. Once you get far, as a righty, once you get far enough left, usually the oil pushes down, and then you can kind of make minor adjustments off that. Usually when they're fresh, so you have completely clean down there, so much more violent reaction on the back end part of the lane.
So Paul, that's a little bit like bowling 201 or 301 as opposed to 101, where you start analyzing fresh surfaces, fresh oil patterns versus oil patterns that have already had some play on them.
Gotcha. So Bill Truman ran that strike run to 9 and then spared in frame number 3, and then after Aaron goes strike open, comes back with a very nice big strike in frame number 3. So, you know, everybody's feeling their way through here a little bit, and, you know, I'm sure, you know, Pete, you know, if you're bowling up against a guy like Bill, you know that he knows this place, he's steady, he's smart, there's nothing he hasn't seen on any lane here at Transit. At Transit, how, as an opponent, how do you get your mindset for that?
Yeah, he's not going to make any big mistakes. He knows what he's doing. Just real simple, but just very effective. He's a great bowler. He's always been a great bowler. So you gotta, you know, it's probably going to take, I'm going to guess, 230 to win this match minimum. So.
You know what Bill has? Bill has, no matter what he does, an air of confidence. You know, when he approaches everything he does. And I'm not going to say arrogance, I'm going to say confidence. I mean, he just believes in himself, he believes in his abilities, very competitive, had a lot of success, and, you know, that went a little high for him right there, but I think that he sees this ball reaction that he has. It's going to just make him looser. I mean, his swing already looks looser to me, knowing that, you know, with that first game under his belt.
And you have to remember, I was going to say slower ball speed, real direct, but at the same time, he shot I think it was 750 in the initial qualifying, then 799 in the round of 24. So
The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
What do you learn from watching other bowlers bowl, Pete? What kind of things can you watch Aaron, and if you were bowling the next match, what would you be able to carry into that?
My first thing would be don't shoot 170. That would be the first. There's got to be a better score than that.
And again, a lot of pin
great
action
shot,
gets Aaron a 5th consecutive strike.
Wow, he can shut Bill out only by a pin.
Wow, if he runs the table here.
Yep.
5 in a row for Aaron. Bill's got 4 in a row. This has been a great match here.
We know Bill's thinking right now, just give me a chance. Just let me go up and give me a chance.
I was going to say exactly, yeah. That's what he's thinking for sure.
Second throw of the 10th frame for Aaron Magliazzo. And another strike.
Pretty solid shot there.
Yeah, very impressive, especially off crossing over there. That takes a lot of skill to get up there and throw 2 good ones like that on that lane.
Right.
If he throws a strike here, he's going to win by a pin, potentially?
He'll shut him out, so no matter what Bill does, he won't be able to beat him.
All right, so a chance
If he gets 9, Bill would have to strike out to tie.
So a chance to win the match here for Aaron Magliazzo in his Beat the Champ debut, the 29-year-old from Niagara Falls. And it's 1 pin left.
This could be interesting.
So, the cagey veteran, Bill Truman, knows exactly what he needs to win, or to tie, right? 246 on the board for Aaron. So striking out gets us a tie. And for the second consecutive month, a tiebreaker, which you guys
It'd be a lot more
had
exciting title. 176 didn't really.
Great shot
there.
Still alive. Were you ready for the tiebreaker there last month? Did you know exactly what was going on with that?
8. I thought 8 would be pretty easy, and I didn't get 8, so we had to. I was running out of steam there after the 6 matches. Yeah, seven match was getting a little rough.
All right, so this is the second throw of the 10th frame for Bill Truman. He must strike on the next 2 in order to get us a tie.
Great shot.
Unbelievable. So it's going to come down to the last throw.
So exciting.
This is
Yeah,
great.
it doesn't matter if it's on a house shot or what it's on, just to get up there and have to make, 3 good shots and doing that. Really, this is a 6th absolute perfect shot here. In a row.
So there's the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep scoreboard, but all you need to know is Bill must strike here, and then we will tie. How
Beautiful
about
shot.
that? 7 consecutive strikes to end it. We are all knotted at 246, and here we go for a tiebreaker. At least we know what we're doing now.
Yeah, right.
And for the second time in 3 weeks and second month in a row, we've got the tiebreaker. So explain it again for everybody.
Okay, so we're gonna do a
Or
ninth.
do we let Pete do it because he lived it already? You guys explain it.
She lived it twice. The 9th and 10th frame roll off. So Bill's opted as the higher qualifier, the higher seed to start. So he's gonna throw his 9th frame, and then Aaron will come up and throw his 9th and 10th, and then Bill will respond in his 10th.
Right, so and then the highest cumulative score in those 2 frames will be the winner and will advance on to next week's show. So good stuff here. This is fun. I mean, you know, what a look at, you know, I'm looking at the score sheet here. You know, Aaron ends with 7 consecutive strikes. Bill ends with 7 consecutive strikes, and Bill needed to make 4 in a row because he knew what he needed to do.
Oh, good shot.
And there's a strike of correction. Aaron ended with the 6 strikes and then left the pin that opened the door for Bill to get to this point. So
Bill did his job, started off with a strike.
So now Aaron Magliazzo will try to counter here. First frame of sudden death, overtime, here in match number 3. Bill Truman looking for a 2nd consecutive win. Aaron Magliazzo looking for his first Beat the Champ victory. And the lefty leaves the 8 pin.
Wow.
So a critical spare pickup here for Aaron. And he'll get it.
Yep, it's very interesting the way that a 9th and 10th roll comes out, because those strikes can just make such a difference. Like starting out the strike is great, but it still matters here what Aaron does. I mean, 3 strikes in a row put some pressure on Bill for sure.
And there's a nice strike.
Huge, yeah.
10th frame for Aaron. You know, it's kind of like other sports. You know, some.
Well, even shootouts give you multiple chances. You know,
Right.
the other person's not completely shut out.
Well, some golf tournaments are 1 hole, some are 3-hole tournament. You know, sudden death. So another strike in the 10th frame here for Aaron. So all he's doing now is just, not only Bill's going to know exactly what he needs to do to win, but he's putting the pressure on Bill.
Absolutely.
Because Bill already has that strike on the board for the first of our 2 frames here.
This shot's huge. Basically, he's got to match him. So he's already got to get the first one. If he strikes here, he's going to actually have to get the first 2, depending on if he gets the 3rd one.
Exactly.
And there you go. Aaron does what he needs to after sparing in the first frame. He strikes out in the 2nd. So what's the challenge for Bill here?
Strike 1. As weird as
Strike 1,
Yeah,
huh?
that's it.
Okay. Well, Bill's already done this once, knowing what he had to do and ending with 4 consecutive strikes.
Hey,
And
there's one.
the first one. And basically, if he gets a strike on this throw, it's pretty much over.
He's got to keep it on the lane.
Keep it on the lane. Pretty sure that's not going to be a problem for Bill. So this is the crucial throw.
Ooh, that was in.
Oh, he got it. He got it. You didn't like it, did you?
No, he yanked that a ton. That was left of his target for sure, but that's where all that oil on the left-hand side, you know, all that oil in the middle is.
Stopped hooking, just slid enough, and
Yeah.
You think he knew it too, didn't you?
Oh, he knew he pulled it.
So just 1 pin here gets Bill Truman the victory. And he got them all. Of course he did.
great shots overall by both of them, though, yeah.
Yeah,
Great
boy,
match.
what clutch bowling by these 2 guys. What pressure, no margin for error. How much, is that stressful or fun to bowl in those, Pete?
It's fun afterwards if you win. Otherwise, it's just stressful, yeah.
Hey, thanks for a nice run
thank
last
you.
month. Good luck in whatever bowling you have left. A good month. Good luck getting that car down down that quarter mile as fast as you can.
Yeah, we hope to see you at Lucky Lane. That'll be my last one. So
all right, well, we
hopefully
hope
we'll
that
be
we
there.
do there. Just keep it under the speed limit on down the
I
thruway.
will, yep.
All right?
All right,
Pete
thank you.
Maduri, who won 7 in a row for us last month, joining us here. We thank him for that. We'll talk to both guys about an amazing match and wrap up week number 1 here at Transit Lanes when we come back. What a match to wrap up week number 1 here at Transit Lanes as Bill Truman defeats Aaron Magliazzo in sudden death overtime. There wasn't much more, Aaron, that you could have done to put as much pressure as possible on Bill to have to tie you and then to beat you in overtime.
Right, just 2 shots I didn't carry. The last shot in the 10th and the first shot in overtime. That's all it was.
How stressful is it for you to have to watch knowing that it's out of your hands and it's in someone else's?
It's definitely tough. You try to put him away and you can't carry, and then he closes the door on me. It's fun to watch and fun to be a part of.
All right, well, it was a heck of a debut for you here on Beat the Champ here at Transit Lanes. Donna, you try to make them feel a little better.
It was an exciting match. We have something for you. Thank you for participating, but it was an exciting match to watch.
Yeah, Sue, the grizzled veteran over there, seems to find ways to pull more excitement out.
Little nerve-wracking catching your breath?
Oh, absolutely. This is just so much work sometimes, but it's fun to throw strikes, that's for sure.
Did you, what was your mindset going into that when you saw that 8-pin and then you knew you had to strike out after all?
I knew I had to strike out to at least get the first couple. He was tough. Aaron just threw the ball so well. You know, he had one really bad frame where he threw a split. I had one bad frame where I missed a spare. You know, those were kind of the turning points, and as it turned out, we tied, and I was fortunate to carry 4 strikes, and he carried only 3. So
got that little one a little bit left?
Oh, the one I pulled a whole lot. It wasn't even close, but it hung, it stayed, and it carried. So
hey, taking advantage of the situation. That's all right.
I was
Donnie.
given a chance, that's all.
So congratulations. I can't tell you how proud we are of you, the Transit Lanes family.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Right.
Okay.
Well, it's not like Bill wouldn't be sticking around here anyway, but he's going to stick around because he's coming back to bowl on next week's show. Sue and I will preview that when we return to Beat the Champ at Transit Lanes. What a great way to get things started here at Transit Lanes. An incredible clutch match. Could you be more clutch than Bill Truman was down the stretch there?
No, wow, that day have everything in it, but at the end, to have to come up and make those 3 shots, I can't even tell you the adrenaline that goes through you. I know, I've been there, and it's intense.
Yeah, well, and it was intense to watch. It was fun to watch. You have now mastered the art of sudden death overtime, haven't you?
Yes, and it's crazy. Like you said, we've never had it before in the 2 years, now going on 3 years that we've been doing this show, and now 2 months in a row,
Amazing.
overtime. It's insane.
Amazing, and it was insane and exciting here at Transit Lanes. The crowd is into it. Their guy, Bill Truman, is winning. We'll see if he can keep that alive. Tim Jensen, Kevin Smith, and Will Gerhardt. Those are our 3 bowlers for next month. Stick around. We're back in a week to see you with more of Beat the Champ.